Welcome back to Sailing on LaVenture. This week we give you a feel for Georgetown, South Carolina, and some information on preparing a boat for a passage from Georgetown down to Florida and then to Eleuthera. Follow along. Good morning from Georgetown, South Carolina. I have spent the first week of October getting the boat ready for our journey back to Stella Maris, Long Island, Bahamas. A lot of work and preparation. We had a seawater pump on the starboard engine that needed to be replaced, along with the belts and an alternator, all done. Engine runs smoothly, and most importantly, leaks nothing. So the port engine checks out great. Did some work on the electrical system, all navigation, everything is checking out. All the other systems on the boat are fine. We'll be topping off the water before we leave at the end of October, but otherwise we're pretty much ready to leave South Carolina for West Palm, then Eleuthera, Spanish Wells, and then down the entire Exuma chain to Stella Maris, Long Island, Bahamas. Okay, part of the preparation is looking at the cruising guides, also looking at the paper charts, and it gives a much better visual sometimes than just looking at a digital chart, and drawing out the courses and then transferring that information then to the Navionics digital chart on both the iPad and our Ray Marine chart plotter. Also, it's time to update our log with contact information. We did a lot of work on the engines, so I'm notating all the part numbers, and also we need to have the bottom cleaned briefly before we depart. So I've added Ted Porter's information here into the log. So again, upon return, we have all these great people to help us, and we know how to get along with or get a hold of them immediately. And the nav table is all put together and ready to go. So 3 weeks and counting. We have spent the summer here, LaVenture, in Georgetown, South Carolina. It's an amazing community, so much history here, dating back before even the Revolutionary War. The town was actually laid out in 1729, and in a few years became a port. It was authorized by the Crown in 1732, and a British custom officer arrived and set up residence, and from then on it's been a port all through history. In fact, even Lafayette, when he arrived in America to aid the colonists against the British, arrived on North Island, which is right down the river, and then came through Georgetown on his way to Charleston, which the British still held at the time. So, especially towards the latter part of the Revolutionary War, so much history. One of the big exports from here, from the 1700s, actually on to today, has been lumber. The lumber here, especially back in the 1800s, was great for shipbuilding. And initially they did a lot of shipbuilding here in Georgetown. But over time, that shifted, supplying the lumber up to Maine, where shipbuilding actually goes on still today. So many of the ships, the early ships for our country, again, came from here. Along with lumber in the beginning too, indigo was a crop here, and it was in great demand in England. So many of the ships came to the port here and then left for England with indigo as well as lumber as well. And then in the 1840s, after the war, there was some interesting developments here. They began growing rice, and actually they supplied 45% of the rice for the whole U.S. here in Georgetown, and that went on for many years. So today it is a busy port in terms of fishing and pleasure boating and that type of thing, which brought us here. Frank and Terry, our friends from Long Island, Bahamas, really recommended that we leave our boat here during hurricane season, and we're so happy that Frank and Terry made that recommendation and encouraged us enthusiastically to come here. Just roaming the town of Georgetown, going through the Maritime Museum, you really get a history of not only the Revolutionary War, but the Civil War, and for how our country grew, and what products we traded, both with Europe as well as throughout the East and New England part of our country. And the shops and the people here are amazing. The dockmaster, Ed, has just been so accommodating. We've just felt at home from the very beginning. Bill Church did the pump installation on the engine as well as the alternator. He took me through it. He taught me how to make changes and how to take off belts, and just really went through that starboard engine with me in such a way that I could understand and do it myself if need be. Gave me so many tidbits of how to get the engine started, if the pump needs priming. It's just been amazing. Everyone here has been so helpful, but also very good at instructing on, if you're out there on the islands and you need to do some of this self, here's how you do it. So I've learned a tremendous amount every trip into Georgetown. We've been able to share this town with some of our other friends, Mike and Cindy, that have a condo up in Myrtle Beach, and that's where their boat is. They've been down here, we've been up there, and Ellis and Patty that are in Newberry, we've been able to reconnect with them and spend time with them a couple times this summer. So we just love South Carolina. We love the hospitality, we love the history, and we love spending time with our friends here as well as making new friends. Bill has not only gotten our starboard engine running again, but he also has given us some advice on fishing. So maybe Mike and I and Ellis can come up with some mahi for some fish tacos. So we're optimistic on the fishing this trip. We do have to stay out of the Gulf Stream. We will be headed south, but we do have to stay out of the Gulf Stream because it's going the wrong way. So, but he has encouraged us and feels like we can get some fish, and we're going to use some local lures that are made here, which I'll be showing you in future videos. And again, some really good advice, which we'll share down the road as we're sailing. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a tour of downtown Georgetown, and give you an idea of what it's like and the flavor. And well, thanks for following along and being part of LaVenture's Adventures. Thank you. Thanks for joining us this week and getting a brief glimpse of Georgetown, South Carolina, which we are preparing to leave here in a couple of weeks and head for Florida and then off to Eleuthera. Thanks for joining us, and hopefully you learned a few things about preparing a boat thoroughly for a passage. We'll share more of that in future videos, and join us this fall for a trip through the Bahamas back to Stella Maris, Long Island, Bahamas.
One's gone under the knife.